take a step back before I get all up in your
remember, because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
The other dudes holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Jerry's gonna get him.
Fantasy sports and politics. Fantasy sports and politics. Fantasy sports and politics. Fantasy sports and politics.
Listeners are asking questions about this week's games, not Jerry's personal beef. So what's your thought? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Fantasy Sports and Politics. It's me. It's Mr. FSP. And you know, I do what I do because I do it for you all day, every day. But I will say this. Remember when I asked your opinions? Neither do I. I'm cocky, but I'm real. So what I'm going to tell you is the NFL is getting really real. And when I say really real, I mean, this is week 6. We have 11 weeks left of regular season play after this week. And injuries plus buys are hurting a lot of teams in real life, much less fantasy. Fantasy is great. Let's think about this. The San Francisco 49ers are down to their 4th string running back. 3rd and 4th, to be exact. And they're using Debo more in the backfield. If you don't know, Debo has a clause in his current contract that says if he is at the running back position for so many times, he gets an escalator. I don't know if CMC coming back this year. Maybe, maybe not. Mason has a sprained LCL or something like that in his left shoulder. Guerrero, to me, outside of that long run, he looked like he's not comfortable yet. Taylor, he's a big bruiser. He's not a speed guy. But I think Taylor has more vision than Guerrero, at least from what I saw versus Seattle. Guerrero's got speed. I don't think he has any power because he was getting thrown around like a rag doll. Just my opinion. But you're down to your 4th running back. How many people, I am one of them, drafted Christian McCaffrey number 1 overall? How many people, I am one of them, obtained Mason just in case? Also, there's another guy that was on IR, should be coming off IR about now, that was there before all of them. He's due to come back. So don't get happy with Guerrero. I can't remember his last name. I'm sorry. The young running back, or Taylor, the other young running back, because Mitchell should be coming back, if I'm not mistaken. Unless they put him on season-ending IR, he should be probably getting ready to come back. And if Mason is hurt, Guerrero's a young guy, Taylor's a young guy, but I got Mitchell, who I've had in the organization before all of these guys, including CMC, injury prone. I'm getting him ready. You've got their offensive line starting to get nicked up. San Fran is in a bad way right now. They're in a just my opinion. They've got so many starting players, either probable, questionable, out, IR. It's tough. And I didn't even mention the defensive side. Greenlaw, Lafunga, the safety. Fred Warner looked like he had a concussion to me, but he still played. San Fran's in trouble. And yet, they're sitting on top of the NFC West. A lot of people predicted the Rams would make a move. Again, another team besieged by injury. I mean, everybody's injured. On the Rams, currently sitting at the bottom of their division, Sean McVay gave up $25 million a year to come back to the Rams. That was the report. He loses Puka. He loses Cooper. The offensive line is a mess. Defensive line can't stop anybody. And then we got Geno and the Seahawks. How do you not, 2 weeks in a row, get Kenneth Walker to run that rock at least 12 to 15 times in a meaningful way? Geno threw the ball a lot. He did. And when the defense of San Fran decided to play a little looser, he started doing things. But it's like they put a blanket on DK, except for the one touchdown that got called back and the 130-yard pass play that he had. Geno was missing wildly to Smith and Jigba. I mean, I get it. People are in his face. And I don't know if you caught it during the live broadcast, but I did, where Geno, towards the end of the game, just before the Hail Mary, he said, "What the F are y'all doing?" Now, I don't know if he was talking to his teammates or was he talking to the coaches, but he wasn't talking to the San Francisco 49ers defense. This offense is a very good offense. But you got to run the ball. You got to have balance. When you got a hammer like Walker, he didn't even have 25 yards. Hear me when I say this. Walker did not have 25 yards by halftime rushing the ball. The 49ers defense is not that stout. Not. 25 less. I believe he had 20 yards of rushing by halftime. And this is probably your number one back or number two in fantasy if you drafted him. And you probably got him third, fourth round, something like that. But 20 yards the first half, second week in a row, where his touches were like minimal. Mason is a home run hitting running back. Granted, he's got Trent Williams and my boy George Kittle. When those two on the same side blocking, you going. But Walker is a Adrian Peterson type running back. He needs a lather to get going. He needs to hit you multiple times in order for you to loosen up so he can break one. That's not what's happening. Is it time to buy or sell him? I don't know. We'll talk about it. But also, last week was the beginning of the bye weeks, and a lot of people didn't really get affected because only real person on bye week last week that kind of hurt people, in my opinion, was Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts was hurting nobody. Matter of fact, people probably like, thank you, Jalen, for not playing or not being able to play because you're on bye. Because he lost both his top wide receivers just before the bye week. Dallas Goedert beasted out. Dallas Goedert was great because he wasn't throwing to nobody else, and he couldn't throw to nobody else. AJ's back. Devontae's back. We'll see what happens this week. But last week, the reason why I didn't talk about buys last week when they first started was because Gibson, Barkley, Montgomery, St. Brown, yeah, in my opinion, were the only real devastating fantasy buys outside of, I just had him too. I just had him in my head. I'll tell you who I was talking about. J.K. Dobbins. Gibson. And you know what? Running backs, right? Barkley, Gibson, Dobbins, and whoever the hell I just said, Montgomery. 4 of the top 5 running backs in fantasy were all on bye. Alvin Kamara was not on bye, but when you go up against and people didn't think Atlanta's defense was that good. They got cracks, yes. Excuse me. But when Atlanta's throwing the ball 58 times and they're running the score up and Carr can't hit nobody, Alvin's not going to do that much. And last week, Tampa Bay, who I thought Tampa Bay and New Orleans was a good game. No, excuse me. It will be a good game. The people you're probably going to worry about, Mike Evans. Mike Evans has not, in a very long time, had a good game versus Lattimore. So who do you put in his place? And remember, Tampa Bay has a bye next week. So you're pretty much getting 0, I'm not going to say 0 points versus Marshawn Lattimore. Pretty much. But you're not going to get a lot of production out of Mike Evans this week, and you're losing him next week. Happy birthday, Mike Evans. Chris says, today is Mike Evans' day in my household. Sorry. And fantasy sports and politics do mix because I can talk about politics of the sport. But now that I'm out of the military, I can talk about politics. Whoever wants some smoke, come on. Matter of fact, I invite folks, especially this guy right here, Stuart Gimble. He's my friend, but now he's going to be my enemy. He's going to be my enemy because he's cursing and he claims he doesn't support Trump. But how do you have a Trump bobblehead in your house and you don't support Trump? I'm going to stick to sports right now. But whoever wants to come on and debate politics, real politics with me, I will set my schedule up and we can have that show. We can have that show. Just be prepared to have a debate. Oh my gosh, Chris. let me move forward. Okay. So the bye week blues of this week are Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, a few other good names that I love you too, Stu. I love you too. He made me forget the other bye weeks. Let me go to the NFL and go to the bye weeks. We're going to talk about the Commanders in a minute. Matter of fact, it's probably that's the second game we're going to talk about. But the bye weeks this week, oh my gosh, I forgot. We'll go over the teams that are on bye this week. I can't recall them right now, and I got to do the show. But we'll talk about the teams that are playing, and we'll get to all that other stuff in a minute. Okay. But the bye week blues are going to hurt a lot of folks. Aaron Jones, if you notice, just my opinion, but all I got to do is look at tape. If you noticed, when Aaron Jones was out of the Minnesota Vikings lineup, it did not look well. I know Minnesota beat the Jets in London. I know that. But it was the sloppiest win they've had all season. Sloppiest. The offense didn't do jack. It was all the defense. All the defense. So Justin Jefferson is a monster. They're getting back. And if you don't know, and if you don't have them, and somebody's got them stashed on their IR spot, TJ Hawkinson's coming back. So if Minnesota was this good without their top tier tight end, because Chris says he heard all NFL teams are now looking for pop star girlfriends for their players, TJ Hawkinson don't need that. TJ Hawkinson is a monster. And when he returns, if Aaron Jones is back to good health, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Sam Bradford is not Sam Bradford. Sam Darnold is still good. How good will Minnesota be? Last week I told you a lot of Minnesota Vikings fans were predicting 12-5, 13-4. It's not unlike. I don't know what they saw, but they saw something that I didn't see and a bunch of other people didn't see. Because we all saw or thought of the Sam Bradford. I mean, I keep calling him Sam Bradford because they both suck. Sam Darnold of years past. He has turned a new leaf. I don't know what to tell you about that, but I will tell you this. The bye week blues are coming. They are coming. I'm going to glance at my Pat Mahomes. Travis Kelce really has not been a big player yet this year, but he's on bye. You've got the Rams. So Kerryon Williams is on bye. Matt Stafford, another team Sam Bradford played for, is on bye. Not a lot of power hitters. Big name, but this has statistically been one of the worst years so far for Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But they're still winning. We already talked about the Rams because they have nobody really. Kerryon Williams is it. Sam Bradford is throwing to Tutu Atwell, some other folks, but it's. I'm not gonna say it's hopeless, like a penny with a hole in it. I was gonna do because you know less. I know my man Chris knows that song, and I'm not gonna hurt your ears, people, by singing it. But anyway, let's get to it. First game. And I know there are a couple of other teams on bye, but if they come on my mind, or if you guys bring them up, I'll talk about them. But right now, let's talk about the Bears hosting the Jaguars in London. Remember, this game starts at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific. So 6:30 a.m. I'm already up. So I'll just catch the game from there, and I'll watch football all day. And my wife knows this, so she leaves me alone on Sundays during football season. And on the West Coast, I can catch every game. It's like banging your head with it. Anyway, I'm going to find a way to have sound for the stuff that I like to sing. Because I know I kind of suck, but I also love myself. I truly do. Thank you. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are pretty much the home team in London. They really are. The NFL did, and we're going to talk politics. Let's talk politics. The NFL did they did psychological warfare on the Brits. They literally did psychological warfare on the Brits. Whenever the NFL went to London in the early years, it was always Jacksonville. They forced those folks in London to like and support the Jaguars. I'm not lying. Look it up. Jacksonville has been the only team that has double-digit visits and games in London. There is no way you can tell me that Jacksonville is not the home team when half the stadium, even when they're playing like the Jets, not Jacksonville, when the Jets are playing Minnesota, you still see Jaguar stuff in the stands. Now they host Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, who had a good game last week. But think about it, they played Carolina. Carolina ain't that good. They ain't. But you bring your show on the road, and DJ Moore looked good. DeAndre Swift looked good, has been looking good. Hopefully he will continue to look good because a lot of folks are banking on him being the bell cow of their running game. For whatever reason, he was not in the beginning of the season, right? I can't call it. I don't know why, but DeAndre Swift needs to become a threat again. Jacksonville, same deal. They have looked terrible, but Jacksonville won their game last week. Now they're 1-4, hosting the Bears, who are 3-2. And when I say they won the game, it wasn't a convincing win. They just won. It wasn't Travis Etienne. It was Tank. Don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. Tank is not taking Travis Etienne's job. Travis is nicked up. Tank was brought in a couple years ago to supplement Etienne because he's a more power back, but he doesn't have the same skill set as Etienne because Etienne is a very versatile receiving back. Runs between the tackles, definitely runs outside the tackles, but he also catches the ball. Tank is an inside the tackles guy. He's a bruiser. He has speed, yes, but you can catch him on the edge. And his hands are not that good. So when you're playing the Chicago Bears in a home game for the Bears, but it's actually going to be a home game for the Jaguars, I'm expecting the Bears to come out on top. They have way more weapons. And what hurt Jacksonville the most was on the defensive side of the ball. They lost their middle linebacker, Oluokun. He's on IR, I believe, for the rest of the season. That guy was the linchpin to that defense and keeping them all where they're supposed to be. He led them and the NFL in tackles. So if he wasn't making a tackle, other people's weren't. And that's, in my opinion, along with Evan Ingram not being in the lineup. I think Ingram's going to be in the lineup tomorrow because he flew to London with them. Those two players, one on offense, one on defense, are the linchpins to Jacksonville's success. Watch what happens once Trevor Lawrence starts throwing the ball back to Evan Ingram. And he starts attacking the middle of the field. That means Christian Kirk's going to have more opportunities. Brian Thomas has been doing well, but he's been a 9 guy, just a go guy. And to my folks in Florida, by the way, Chris, I love you, prayed for you. Glad you're okay. Duval wasn't hit, but Tampa Bay got some bad stuff. The Keys got some stuff, but glad everybody's okay there. But this is a good time for Jacksonville to be in London. Shad Khan has a lot of business in London too. A lot. But if Trevor Lawrence, starts throwing the ball to Evan Ingram more, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, maybe ATN will get a little bit more, and maybe, just maybe, Jacksonville will become a better offensive team. This shows you the dependency of the tight end position for certain quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence needs a solid tight end. He needs one. Otherwise, he's just a 50-50 ball thrower, and I call him sunshine. It's been cloudy days, a lot of cloudy days in Florida, especially in Duval. I got the Bears winning this game. I think it's going to be a sloppy game. I honestly think so. I think it's going to go back and forth. It might be like a 23, 25, something like that, to 30 type game. So exciting offensively, but very bad play. Very bad play. But I got the Bears. Next game, Washington Commanders hosting Baltimore Ravens. Word on the street is that NBC tried to roughhouse CBS for this game. They wanted to flex it to Sunday night. Well, CBS said, no, we're not giving it up. Why are we going to give up this game with the hottest quarterback in the NFL right now? I'm gonna say this, and yes, I'm a Commanders fan, but this is my thought based on 5 weeks of production. If Jaden Daniels does fairly well in this game, right? I understand the Commanders win it, but he does fairly well in this game. Not only will he be the offensive rookie of the year, but Jaden Daniels will be the offensive player of the year. Yes, the MVP of the league. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The Commanders play 2 very difficult teams in the next 5 games. The Ravens to start it, the Steelers to end it. In between, you've got the Bears, Carolina, and the Giants. Now, yes, we have problems with the Giants. Yes, the Bears are loaded, but something's wrong with the Bears. And they're coming to FedEx or whatever they name the stadium now. They should beat the Panthers handily. They should. Especially with half their defensive players are now playing for us and kicking butt. Luvu went off. Oh, my gosh. He's going to have to do that again this week. But Jaden Daniels is the most electrifying man in the NFL, just like The Rock is to the WWE and wrestling. He has more rushing yards than Bijan Robinson, Jamar Gibbs. Oh my gosh. I just had them all. Bijan Robinson, Jamar Gibbs. I think it was Aaron Jones. and 2 other running backs, starting running backs. He has just as many passing yards as some of the top passers in the league. He's finding Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz is having a good year. We still don't have a number 2, definite number 2, but he's making things happen. Now, this game versus the Baltimore Ravens, everyone's saying that Daniels is RG3 2.0 and a better passing version of Lamar. I think he's a better passer than Lamar, especially at the rookie year. I think his vision is better. I think his escapability isn't on the same level as Lamar, because Lamar has become a very good escape artist, right? Lamar also has a better offensive line than Washington. But the thing about this is, it's not even going to be about Daniels or Lamar. It's going to be King Henry versus that defensive front and linebackers. Plain and simple. If Brian Robinson can't go, Austin Eckler, who has been the number 1 fantasy running back several years in a row, a couple years ago, and still has juice, becomes the lead back. Not a plotter, but a very versatile running back nonetheless. To me, and Washington has been a very balanced offense, whereas Baltimore hasn't. Baltimore has not been a very balanced offense. In fact, until the last couple games, Henry wasn't getting the rock a lot, and Baltimore wasn't running the ball a lot. They were throwing the ball a lot more. And Baltimore's passing game could probably really affect Washington's secondary if Lamar throws the ball more this game. Washington's talking to Xavier Howard, J.C. Jackson, who we had in the past. And I forget the other cornerback. Oh, Eli Apple. No Eli Apple. I don't want Eli Apple. Not at all. But that tells you we're 6 games in the season, and we're still trying to fix our secondary. So I expect Baltimore to throw him. But the fear of King Henry is what's going to cause problems for that defense of Washington. Now, the fear of Jaden Daniels, here's the thing. If Lamar Jackson played Jaden Daniels in practice this week versus the first team defense, they'll be prepared. Patrick Queen is gone. So that middle linebacker, Roquan can hit, but Roquan is not a runner. Roquan is sideline to sideline. But if you put a move on Roquan, and if you spy him with Hamilton, he can shake Hamilton too. But if you spy him with Hamilton, that means you're leaving your cornerbacks, who are suspect for Baltimore, one-on-one with Terry and Zacchaeus and, Luke McCaffrey and whoever else we have. But Baltimore also is susceptible to the tight end. Here's the other thing. I don't understand why Mark Andrews has not been utilized a lot in the passing game. I don't. But I bet he will be this game. I'm a Commanders fan, but I'm picking Baltimore to win this game. It's in Baltimore, which is nothing more than a 20-minute drive in regular traffic, but probably like a 2-hour drive on 50. It's not 50 miles per hour, but it's a highway 50. Baltimore, Washington Parkway. I don't know what they call it now, but that's what it used to be called. But when they go to Baltimore, it's a little different. It's a little different. I got to go with Baltimore. I love my team, but I got to pick the Ravens to win this game, okay? With that being said, let's move on to the next game. Arizona and Green Bay. How did Green Bay get demolished? I don't know. Jordan Love comes back, has a good game, but they still lose. Minnesota's no joke. Not at all. Here's what I'm going to tell you about my new home team, Arizona Cardinals. They went into San Francisco last week, looked decent, had a come-from-behind victory. Trey McBride, Kyler Murray, and Mr. Connor. And the defense did well. But they were missing getting the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. had less than, I think he had, 3 receptions? And all the games I've been to for the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler has force-fed Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball 10 times or more. He only got like 5 targets last week. Now, Jair Alexander is going to be covering him if they go man-to-man, I believe. Jair can be beat and has been beat. But Kyler has a tendency to hold the ball a little too long. I don't know what he's looking at. I can only speculate, seeing it from my perspective in the end zone view. He's looking to dump the ball off, or he's looking for a particular player and missing the open players that are in front of him or down the field. This is a game where he's going to have to find Marvin Harrison Jr. down the field. I think his name is Mike Wilson, the other receiver, starting receiver. He's okay, but he's not going to cause a lot of problems downfield. He's not a jump ball guy. Trey McBride needs to have the ball a lot more too. But the key to this game will be Josh Jacobs and Connor. If the Green Bay Packers force feed Josh Jacobs to set up Reed, Wicks, and Kraft, the targets that Jordan Love likes to throw to, it's going to be a problem. Arizona, because when I watched the Commanders play them, Arizona has a problem spying and playing the mobile quarterback. Because Buddha has to come down. And if Buddha comes down, cool. But the other safety is not that good. I expect Dante Wicks to have, or whatever his name is, Wicks, to have an exceptional game this game. I really do. I love the Cardinals. They are a very good team, very good organization. But Green Bay is going to win this game. Green Bay is going to win this game. Only because I see too many weapons that can be utilized versus that defense. Because once you take Buddha from free safety down to strong, or the jackal linebacker position, where he has to worry about, the quarterback or the running back, that secondary is touchable. It is touchable. And I expect Jordan Love to touch them often. No diddy. No doubt. All right. Next game. Houston. Oh, I might get some feedback from Chris on this. Houston, you do not have a problem. You do not have a problem as the New England Patriots are turning to the rook. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. If the offensive line was not protecting Jacoby Brissett, I get it. Drake May's mobile. I get it. Drake May is also erratic. He has a big arm, and he's going to try to use it. But Petrie, the free safety for Houston, he's going to hurt that dude if he starts running. He's not afraid to get a personal foul. He's not getting thrown out the game. He gives it 15 yards. The quarterback feels him, and it's going to be crazy. Chris has something he wants to say about his Patriots. He says, my calculations are showing I will be getting a call next week to be QB1 next to New England. This team doesn't have an O-line that protect the rookie. That's what I'm saying, Chris. That's exactly what I'm saying. And Houston has a defensive line. Daniil Hunter. I forgot the kid's name that quick. The other defensive end, second-year guy. Al-Shahir, the linebacker. Petrie, the free safety. Who's he going to throw on? Singletary is a very good corner. Absolutely outstanding corner. Should have been picked over Sauce, but he was, whatever. But Houston has a great defense. Top it off, you know they're throwing the ball to Stephon Diggs. Kyle Duggar's a safety. Kyle Duggar's not covering Stephon Diggs. And Tank Dell returns. Joe Mixon might play. Listen, man. I feel sorry for the Patriots. It's like I don't know what to tell you. Patriots, but you know what? Beginning of the season, I thought the Patriots were going to be just like garbage. They come out and they beat the Bengals, who looked even worse. Excuse me. Oh, Miami's on bye. Duh. But they haven't done anything since Tua's been out. So I ain't worried about Tyreek, a chain, and none of them folks. But Patriots, man, I think Houston is going to cause a big problem for you guys, and it's going to be a blowout. I know not Matt Judon. I know that the head coach for the Patriots is doing the best that he can do. And he's trying to shake things up. But putting that rookie behind that offensive line, and you don't know if old boy's going to fumble the rock running it, or he's going to get a touchdown. So you say you can put Antonio Gibson back there. And then Antonio Gibson proceeds to get 3% of the carries. Stevenson gets the bulk of the carries. Doesn't fumble. I don't know what the hell is going on. But the Patriots are in trouble. They're going to lose this game. And Chris says, if we keep it up, perhaps we will get Manning. Listen. If you're talking about Arch Manning, you got 3 more years, 2 to 3 more years for that. But that would also mean Drake May was not the quarterback you wanted. Patriots should not be looking at a quarterback in a draft. They need to look at offensive linemen. Plain and simple. Plain and simple, bro. They need that's why Stevenson can't run nowhere. That's why Brissett was getting killed, averaging less than 175 yards passing a game in a professional level. Sorry, brother. I know you're a Pats fan. You're really a Brady fan. But I respect your loyalty for staying with the team, even though the quarterback's gone, because you're not a player jumper. You're not somebody that's going to just leave a team because your player left. That's admirable. Some people do that. I mean, it's their prerogative to do what they want. I'm not that type of person because my loyalty is to the team or to the people that are there, not just to, the one player. Now we're going to talk about your other team, Chris. You ready for this one? Tampa Bay 4-1 versus New Orleans Saints. Excuse me. Tampa Bay's 3-2. New Orleans is 2-3. Derek Carr is now on the sideline for a couple of weeks that we know of. Spencer Rattler, former Sooner, who got beat out by a freshman by the name of Caleb Williams, went to South Carolina and proceeded to not have a good career at the college level. However, he was drafted and now is the starting quarterback for New Orleans Saints versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not a good team to start your career with. Historically, Mike Evans has had terrible games versus Latimer. Marshawn Latimer has owned Mike Evans. The Saints and Tampa Bay have had very good competitive games. I expect this to be a low-scoring game, period, unless Rattler throws the ball a lot. If he throws the ball a lot, Rattler's good for at least 1 or 2 interceptions. If he has to throw the ball more than 25 times a game, Rattler's good for at least 1 or 2 interceptions. At least that's what his college career tells us. I think Alvin Kamara is going to be heavily involved. Taysom Hill, who was out last week, probably comes back this week. Jamal Williams will probably get the ball a lot. I don't expect Chris Olave, Raheem Shaheed, and whoever else their receiving core is to have a lot of passing yards in this game. They're going to try to throw the ball because what is hurting Tampa Bay? Their secondary. Winfield has been out for a couple weeks. Without him back there, that secondary is trash. I'm just be honest. It's trash. Vita Vea is going to have to blow up that whole offensive line so everybody else can get in there and stop that run and get some pressure on Spencer Rattler. Because when Rattler gets rattled, he turns the ball over. And it's, to me, Vita Vea, Jonathan Allen, and Payne are the 3 best defensive tackles, in my opinion, in the NFL. Veda gets pressure up the middle like Aaron Donald. Where's the pressure from the outside? Same thing with Washington. Where's the pressure from the outside? Tampa Bay will throw the ball a lot to Chris Godwin, who's going to destroy that secondary of New Orleans. Think about this. What did Kirk Cousins, Drake London, and Darnell Mooney just do to that New Orleans secondary? Minus Lattimore. I believe Lattimore's playing. If Lattimore is playing, cancel Christmas on Mike Evans. Like I said at the top of the show, bye week blues. Tampa has a bye next week. It's going to be like a bye again. 2 byes back to back for Mike Evans. If Lattimore plays, just bank on Chris Godwin. I'm not a famous game show man. What up? Brother, I already talked about Houston. Houston's going to destroy Chris's Patriots. You should say something to Chris about that. But anyway, I was on Price is Right. That's why he said famous game show guy. Anyway, I've got Tampa Bay. And watch out for this. I know White's an animal. White's hurt, and he doesn't receive the ball very well. He doesn't catch the ball very well. Bucky Irving is going to take that starting job probably after the bye week. Bucky Irving's going to get more touches this week. The problem is he's going against a very good New Orleans front seven. New Orleans has a very good front seven. So if Bucky doesn't fumble the ball like he did versus Atlanta, pretty much cost him the game, my opinion. Bucky's going to be a problem. Bucky's going to be a problem. He says, I hope so. Seems like a trap game, but Hunter and Anderson Jr. should give May that's what I'm saying. I forgot to do last name, Anderson. Dude, him and Al Shahir, the linebacker, they're going to hunt for Drake May. But we're past that game. I got Tampa Bay beating New Orleans and rattling Spencer Rattler. I don't expect much from the receiving end. He might surprise me. Dennis Allen might let Spencer Rattler throw the ball more than 25 times. But like I said, after 25 passes, expect one interception, at least one interception for Spencer Rattler. And I like the kid. Next game. Cleveland is the city where they come from, so rhyme right. Philadelphia returns off of their bye week, and they get healthy. And they needed to get healthy. A.J. Brown returns. Devontae Smith returns. Saquon's there. Ooh. You know what? Before I get into that game, let me answer Jason's question. This is a very tough question. It's not as easy as one would think. Yes, Josh Allen is the number one quarterback in the NFL. And my guy, Jaden Daniels, is right behind him. But if you saw the last game between Houston and Buffalo, I'm going to give you the Stephon Diggs look that he gave Josh Allen after the game. See my jawline got all tense? Josh Allen went 9 for 20-something. And a bunch of dirt balls. Oh, Dan says Baker. Dan says, well, let me get to it. I don't agree with Dan. I don't agree with Dan, by the way. And I love Baker, but I don't agree with Dan. But let me break it down. Josh Allen versus that New York Jets defense. Robert Saleh's gone. We'll talk about that in a minute. But oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. But I'm going to tell you, since y'all not going to let me say it, I say start Jordan Love. Out of those three, let me put it back up. I'm starting Jordan Love over Josh and Baker. If I have Allen and I have Love and I have Baker, I don't know what league you in, but let me in there so I can take their money. Because that's crazy to have all three of those quarterbacks. But there's a problem with Allen. He already has the issue with his fingers. I don't know which ones on the left-hand side. But 9 for 20-something or 9 for 30-something. And he missed a lot of open people, dirt balls, and he hasn't been running. Even though this is a good team he can try to run against, I wouldn't recommend it. But I'm not playing him. Baker already said I don't like the matchup with Lattimore versus Evans. Historically, Evans loses. So that means he's got to throw the ball to Chris Godwin, who has been having a hell of a year. And he's got to get the ball to Otten. And they're going to run the ball because they got two stud running backs. Baker is I don't think Baker's going to have to win the game. Let me put it that way. With Green Bay, gluten-free car. You're leaning love too. But let me go to it because I think we just did Green Bay before I get too far. Yeah, Green Bay versus Arizona. That's what it was. Arizona secondary, when Budda Baker is down in the box, Arizona secondary is wide open. Wide open. I expect Dante Wicks, the tight end Kraft, Reed, the receiver. I expect them all to have good games. And I expect Jordan Love to have the better game out of those three players. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and Jordan Love. I expect Jordan Love to have the best game out of the three. Look who they're playing. That's my justification. And look at how the quarterbacks are performing. I predicted 3 weeks ago that the Buffalo Bills would not win the next 3 to 4 games. This is game 2, I believe. No, this is game 3 because they lost 2 in a row. Let me make sure I got that right. Buffalo. Oh, they lost 2 straight games. 2 straight games, right? So this would be the 3rd straight game. No, they lost the first game. Okay. Rewind. They lost last week. They're going to lose this week, and they're going to lose the following week. Because they lost to Baltimore. Oh, they lost 2 straight. They lost to Baltimore. They lost to Houston. They're going to lose to the Jets, and they're going to lose week 4. And Josh Allen is not going to be able to help them. That's what it is. I really think so. Let me put this up real quick. I got my boy Dan. Speedy recovery, my brother. Speedy recovery. Baker is better at using his weapons and not relying on them. There's a difference. That is true. And I knew what you were saying, even though you had to correct it. But Baker has not been able to break that Lattimore versus Evans piece the last couple years. So he's going to use his weapon of Godwin more so to get the ball down the field. I get it. And Cade Otton. Love has so many more weapons versus a worse secondary that I believe he's going to have the better game. That's what I would do, Jason. I would play Love over Baker and over Josh. Again, Josh is going against I don't even know if the Jets are upset. We'll talk about that game at the end. But I don't even know if the Jets are upset that Salah's gone. But I did notice that Old Brick took away the offensive play calling from Rodgers' main man. Things are going to be different, and the Jets are going to win that game. But let me finish talking about Cleveland and Philly, and we'll talk about these other games as they come about, okay? But thank y'all for the interaction. I appreciate y'all. Let me show y'all some love. Good questions. Appreciate you guys. But Cleveland versus Philly. As I said, Philly's coming off of their bye week and having a lot of players return to the fold. And they just cut and I don't know what's going on with the young linebacker. Dude's only 26 years old. He was a monster. Had his job taken from him in Tampa Bay. Gets signed this year to Philly, but doesn't see the field and gets cut. Might it be some type of mental block or something that's stopping him from being what he was? Is he going through some things? But the one thing I'm going to tell you, and it might not be consequential to some of you, but it's consequential to me. They are starting that young kid from Iowa at the nickelback position. I'm telling you, this kid, I was about to say that in a second, Jason. I'm going to put that up in a second because I was about to say that. This kid is going to end up taking one of the starting outside corner positions. DeJean is a true cornerback. I don't care about his color. That dude can ball. DeJean is going to be the difference. And this goes to what Jason says, and I'm about to say. This will probably be Deshaun Watson's last starting game for the Cleveland Browns this season. unless the rookie gets hurt, or not the rookie, but DRC. Because I think they're going to go to DRC probably midway in this game or by next week. Just keep that in mind when I tell you. Or Jameis Winston, because Jameis Winston is not going to last long. He's going to go through 30 for 30. But he gives us some energy. Amari Cooper's not happy. The Cleveland Browns have openly, said they're willing to shop him. He just signed an extension. What? Cleveland's defense isn't as good as it was last year because the offense is so subpar. The defense is on the field. And you have some key players hurt. But look at the difference. I'm going to tell you. And Mr. Taylor isn't here. And I'm quite sure he would defend the Browns if he were. But he's decided he no longer wants to be a part of the show. So I'm not going to, go down that road. But Cleveland started out 4-1 last year before Deshaun got hurt, right? They had a little skid. He got out. Then Flacco came in, and they were balling. No, not 4-1. Like I think it was 6-2 or something like that. Something like that. But the defense was flying around making plays over and over and over and over again. Because the offense was, if they did not pick up first downs a lot on drives, they moved the ball so the punter could change field position and put the defense in a better position to make plays because they're pinning back the offense of the opponent. Now, Deshaun's going 3 and out on the first drive, second drive, third drive, whereas they're punting from their 20 to 30. And then the punter can't keep booming 60-yard punts because the coverage team got to get down there. Now, the opposing offense, instead of starting inside their 20 or at their 20, the opposing offense starting at the 30, the 40. So your defensive strategy has to change. You can't play man coverage and blitz a lot when, one, your players are hurt and you have less field to work with. Got to think about that. In goal line situations, blitzing hard, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, is a good thing because the quarterback doesn't have a lot of time to make a decision, right? But you're not disguising it as much. But when you have a lot of field, a defensive coordinator can disguise their blitzes a lot more. A lot more. But Deshaun Watson, as Jason has said, has been awful. Guaranteed money, all the crap that he's going through. The latest scandal was settled out of court. Is there a mental block? What has caused Deshaun Watson to decline? It's not going to change. Philly's going to go in there and mollywop him. I'm telling you, that team does not – that offensive line has let that man get whooped up on. I mean, it was like some hustle and flow. Not hustle and flow. Yeah, it's whoop that trick type stuff happening. He's been on his back, his stomach, his side, not for the massages, but because offensive line ain't protecting this dude. And then he's getting gunshot. Washington whooped him badly last week. I mean, badly. Philly's going to go after this guy. And Cooper DeJean, as I said, for Philly, he's going to end up being one of starting outside corners. But this week he's starting as the nickel corner. And he's going to get a pick. I hate to say it like this, but it's the truth. That white boy can play. He's going to get compared to Richard Sehorn so many times because of how good he is. But he's better than Richard Seymour. He's actually better than some of the black cornerbacks, in my opinion. Now, again, that was in college. He was so good, they played him at free safety and nickel corner and cornerback. That's nuts. That's nuts. I expect Cooper DeJean to get a pick in this game. I really do. And I expect Philly to win. Moving on to the next game. The return of Mr. Richardson. Mr. Richardson. The Indianapolis Colts taking on Tennessee, which is a interesting game. Will Levis, who has a shoulder issue, starting a quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, is going to start. Mason Rudolph, who I'm not a fan of, is ready to step in, when and if things don't go right. Think about this. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Aluakon. That's the offensive weapons, the 5 offensive weapons Tennessee has. And your, quarterback happens to be very mobile. Will Levis is a mobile quarterback with a big cannon. Bad decision making. He wants to take that cannon and rifle it in there. That's not always the best thing to do, as you're finding out. But then on the other side, you've got the linebacker playing quarterback in Indianapolis. And oh, by the way, your best receiver, Michael Pittman Jr., is out at least 2 to 3 weeks. Coincidence? Ripley's, believe it or not. That's all I'm going to say. Richardson devalues Pittman as a receiver in fantasy. Flacco upgrades Downing, Pittman, I forgot the other young kid, wide receiver's name, and the tight end for Indianapolis. He also helps Jonathan Taylor, who's supposed to be returning this week. Because if you know Flacco's going to throw that ball around, you can't, bring that safety down all the time. You can't. If you do, you're endangering that secondary and giving up a big play. With Richardson, you bring that safety down or the strong safety down so you can hit him. And you can fool him. Technically, this is literally his rookie year because he only played 4 games last year and was out for the season. Played 4 games this year, went out, and now he's back week 6, so missed 2 weeks. But he's still a novice. At least Levis has played, I think, a year's worth of games. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Richardson needs to develop more. And I'm not going to, me personally, I'm not starting any Colts players. If Jonathan Taylor plays, I start him. That's it. That's it. For that read action stuff. That's it. I wouldn't start Richardson. He might get you some good points fantasy-wise if you have points per rush in a PPR type situation. But as a pure passing quarterback, he is not somebody I would want to start. I'm going to give Tennessee the win. Tennessee's at home. I think, well, just my opinion, they have the better weapon set. They have the better defense. Tennessee has one of the best defenses in the league, but you wouldn't know it because their offense sucks and they're 1-3. Don't kill the messenger. kill the messenger. I'm just telling you. But that is what it is. Literally, I gotta give it to Tennessee on this. Next game, Pittsburgh at Vegas. Check this out. And thank y'all for the likes, the loves, and all that. I really appreciate it. Harris Walls 2024. You got a couple weeks. Make sure you go vote. This Vegas-Pittsburgh game, listen, there's a reason why Mike Tomlin said the door is ajar. That's a quote. The door is ajar for Russell Wilson to step back in. I know Justin Fields has done very well, and Pittsburgh has won games with them. They shouldn't have lost that game to Dallas. Just my opinion. But they, excuse me, but they did. Justin Fields has made too many mistakes fumbling the ball. Too many. The defense has been winning games for Pittsburgh. Oh, it's Najee. Jaden Daniels had more rushing yards than Najee Harris, which was crazy to me, especially in that run-heavy offense. But if you keep Justin Fields in that lineup, that defense is going to have to be stellar every week. Some people say you put Russ in, it's terrible. He ain't going to do this. And I'm telling you, Russ is not washed. He is not washed. Is he going to run recklessly like Fields? Probably not. He's going to run around, but he's not going to run recklessly like Fields. He's not going to get the 20-yard rushing touchdowns from the QB position. Not against the Raiders. The Raiders' problem, and Dan, I wish Dan was still here, but the Raiders' problem is they can't tackle from the linebacker position. Spallone is the only one that tackles folks. Diablo? No. You're not playing Mr. Adams. He wants to be traded. Okay. Jacoby Myers is a little nicked up. You don't know if you're going to start Gardner Minshew or Sullivan. Or O'Connell. Who's your running back? Is it Maxson, who I think it is? Or is it White, who I think it should be? The Raiders, even with Justin Fields as a quarterback, I think they can make this game competitive because I don't think Fields is going to light them up that well. But if Arthur Smith calls his regular game plan of running the ball, because that's what the Raiders can't do, they can't stop running the ball, Pittsburgh easily wins this game. Not because of Fields, but because of Najee. I'm starting Najee in this all day, every day. Pickens has been a good player given his opportunities, which aren't many. But I believe it's because you got Fields. You can call quarterback power. You can call quarterback draw and all that other stuff with Fields, yes. But then you run that risk of him dropping that ball on the ground, which he has a history of. That really hasn't changed. Fumbled QB center exchanges. Come on, man. But I'm going to give Pittsburgh the win. Next game up, Atlanta, Carolina. Not too much to talk about in this game other than ATL. True. I already jumped on that train before the season started. In fact, game 1, I wore my Commander's hat and a Michael Vick jersey, and I was clowned for that because now the team won, and I was with some people. They took a picture, the winner's circle. But check this out. None of those teams that won that day in that winner's circle have a better record than the Commanders or Atlanta. Choo-choo. Atlanta's going to steamroll over Carolina, man. It's a trap game because since Andy Dalton's been in, they've been very competitive. Very competitive. But I think Atlanta just has too much. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a field day with Drake London. I do not know why Kyle Pitts ain't getting the ball. He got a few last week. He got a few. But that needs to become a mainstay, especially if Darnell Mooney's going to drop open passes to get first downs and touchdowns. Ray McLeod, great guy, great punt returner, great kick returner, but use Kyle Pitts. Just my thought. Detroit at Dallas. Look, watch what I do, y'all. Watch what I do. I want y'all to see this. They like to report eligible, but those referees in Dallas, like those flags and say people didn't report eligible. Detroit is going to go in there and wreak havoc on this one-dimensional offense. Not to mention the two best pass rushers for Dallas are out. Michael Parsons is out. Lawrence is out. Lawrence is on IR, actually. So if Detroit has the best offensive line in the game, which I think to be the case, because they can just run and maul you. Just maul you. Two dynamic runners. Their tight end has not been needed, but could be used and should be used, in my opinion. Two outstanding wide receivers. And Dallas is without their best two pass rushers. I'm playing Jared Goff. I'm playing Jameson Williams. I'm playing, of course, St. Brown. I'm playing Laporta. I'm playing David Montgomery. I'm going to say this. It's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. All 5 of the Detroit Lions skill position players score touchdowns. I'm going to say that. Montgomery, Gibbs, Williams, St. Brown, and Laporta. They are going to maul that defensive line of the Cowboys. Now, Dak and CD. That's it. Brandon Cooks just went on IR. So if Brandon Cooks just went on IR, that means Turpin and Tolbert are your 2 and 3. Also means Jake Ferguson is in for like a lot of targets. A lot of targets. Detroit, easily, hands down. Even though I think Detroit is like a 3-point favorite, but I think it's going to be a lot easier than that. The Bengals and the Giants. The Bengals and the Giants. Now, I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. The Bengals are about to be a problem. They lost last week, but they made it interesting. The Giants won last week, and nobody except for Giant fans thought that could happen. Even some Giants fans didn't think that was going to happen. Word is that Chris Brown is going to get more rushing attempts and more touches than Zach Moss beginning this week for Cincinnati. I don't know if that's the catalyst for them to change and be better. But Burrow and Chase are doing what they do. Higgins had a very good game a couple weeks ago too, or last week. When those three are clicking, watch out. But it's also predicated on the running game. So Zach Moss hasn't been doing much, so they're going to give the ball a little bit more to Chris Brown. Hopefully there's no Rihanna there and he don't get beat up. I slay myself. But the Giants, you can't sleep on them, but I'm going to sleep on them. I know that Cincinnati's 1-4, the Giants are 2-3, but I see the Giants going to 2-4 and Cincinnati making it 2-4. I know it's in New York, no big deal. It'll probably be more Cincinnati fans than Giant fans. Probably. And that final game, I know I said I was going to talk about this as it gets here. Buffalo versus the Jets. Buffalo's 3-2. The Jets are 2-3. The winner will be in charge of the division. No Tua coming back anytime soon, I don't think. If they do, great fantasy-wise for Tariq and all that, but I don't think his health is worth it, just me. But that franchise needs him. And I guarantee you they're going to be in the hunt for a QB this upcoming draft. They're going to have to be. But as I said earlier about whether I would play Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, or Jordan Love, I don't feel as though Josh Allen, even though I have Josh Allen in a lot of my leagues, I didn't expect him to get hurt this early. Maybe later on, but not this early. I believe he's dealing with multiple ailments because he hasn't been running a lot. And with Cook a little nicked up, I don't know how effective he's going to be. Keon Coleman had a great play last week, but he also had one of those quarterback receiver moments where it was like the quarterback saw something, the receiver didn't, and the ball hit him smack dab in his helmet where he could have had it and took off. He doesn't trust anybody but Dalton Kincaid, apparently. Because Shakir, he's disappeared. I know he was hurt for a week or so, but he came back last week. Curtis Samuels, they paid him a lot of money, but he's not getting the ball. Dawson Knox has been missing in action. I don't know what to tell you about Buffalo other than I don't believe they're going to win this game or the next. Conversely, I know Aaron Rodgers is hurt too, and Aaron Rodgers is older, and it's going to be a lot worse if he goes down. But you got Tyrod Taylor sitting right behind him. Different story. Robert Saleh gets fired. They say, or the ownership says, this is the best Jets team that has ever been assembled, so on and so forth. And the record of 2-3 is not where they thought they would be or should be, so they terminated him. Olbert becomes the head coach. He immediately changes offensive coordinators and says the philosophy on offense needs to change. This is something that Garrett Wilson said 2 weeks ago, that the offense was stagnant, predictable. Does that mean that they're going to throw the ball more or run the ball more or trick plays or something? I don't know. What I do know is Breece Hall needs the ball in his hands at least 20 times. Not 11 or 12, whatever it was last week in London. Garrett Wilson had a great game. You need more of that. Allen Lazard, I get it. Rodgers loves the players that know him. And that's why Allen Lazard, up until last week, was the most targeted receiver per game. Hence, more targets, more catches. But Rodgers has got to get on the same page with Garrett. Or Garrett has to figure out how to get on the same page with Rodgers. It doesn't help that Rodgers was in Egypt during OTAs and it was unexcused and Salah let it out, but that probably began the downfall, even though they probably didn't have a lot of good love last year. Once he got injured, I don't know. Not in the organization. And if I was, I couldn't say anything. But Rodgers has got to turn Garrett Wilson into Devontae and stop comparing him to Devontae. Okay? I know me, if I'm the Raiders, I'm not trading him to the Jets. Why? I know you pretty much given up on the season, but why am I going to trade you to the Jets? You trade him to the Jets. Now here's the Jets wide receiver room. Lazard, Wilson, Mike Williams, who for whatever reason hasn't gotten a lot of play until like the fourth quarter. I don't know why. Davante Adams. The alpha then becomes Davante Adams, Lazard, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, who you just paid a lot of money to. That's a badass 4-set wide receivers, but you're going to, in my opinion, cause a lot more problems for your young receiver than getting him a mentor. Because here's the deal. If Adams goes there, he'll probably want a new contract. If he gets a new contract, are we guaranteeing that Rodgers is going to stay? If not, here's the thing. The Jets have their future quarterback already on their roster. It's the kid from Florida State. This is a redshirt year for him. Dude was a beast. He was a Heisman candidate until he got injured, and Florida State went undefeated. He got hurt last 2 games of the season. Florida State still won. But then they got blown out by Georgia in the bowl game because half of their starters didn't play and that quarterback wasn't there. But that quarterback made Keon Coleman worth drafting. So I would say Jets, don't worry about a future quarterback because you already got him in-house. Just get him healthy. Make sure he understands what the offense is going to be, if that's going to be offensive coordinator for the future. But if the Jets get Davante Adams, they'll have Adams, Lazard, Williams, and Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson becomes the number 3 because Mike Williams, for whatever reason, isn't coming until, like I said, the fourth quarter. But you can either learn from them and they become a powerhouse for this year, or you diminish that young kid's return. The problem is the Raiders aren't going to make that move. Not to the Jets. I think they'll trade him out of conference. He goes to New Orleans. Him and Olave will be dope with Alvin Kamara. Would be dope. And it would actually give them a legit chance of winning that division, because I don't think they have a legit chance of winning that division. I don't. And Alabama's trailing South Carolina 19-14 in the fourth quarter. Is Alabama going to lose again? Oh, my God. Roll doo-doo tide. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, I've got the Jets winning this game, ladies and gentlemen. It's nothing more than I believe that Buffalo is not going to be a winning team over the next couple weeks. And the Jets are going to turn it on and go to Mach 5 on the AFC East. Just my thoughts. Hopefully Tua comes back after this bye week. Well, if he does come back, I hope he comes back healthy and they protect him and make him wear that dome thing. But that's the thing. He calls the tackle on, Damar Hamlin, and it was his shoulder that hit and his head hit his hip. And when you had that type of seizure or whatever happening, man, some of these guys aren't going to take it easy on him. They got a job to do. They don't tackle him, they lose the game because he's throwing the ball all over the place. They lose their jobs. But if they tackle him and he just so happens his head on the ground and God forbid something worse happens or he has another seizure or something else, I'm just telling you, be careful, guys. Folks in Miami, be careful. I'm glad you guys had a bye week. Get out the area of the hurricane, but just be careful. Be careful. With that being said, I'm going to thank the folks that contributed to the show: Chris Etter, Dan Carr, Jason Casera, the folks that liked it, my boy Jabari Taylor, Stephen Miller, my boy James Hemsley, Michael Pierman. I appreciate you guys. Solo dolo is what it's going to be for show, though, because ain't no one monkey going to stop this show. Not one. I'm Mr. FSP. I'm Mr. FSP. Thank you for rolling with me. And I'm going to see you next week.
Fantasy, sports, and politics.
Get ready to rumble! You wanna talk smack? You in the right place. So take a step back before I get all up in your
Remember,
face.
because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
You're the dudes holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Oh!
Jerry's going to get him.
Fantasy, sports,